first year going to Jubilee, I was a little nervous since I heard it was such a large conference about like what to expect. But since I was part of the committee that led and planned Jubilee, I knew a little bit of what was going to happen when I was going there, but I was still a little nervous about what to expect. But in the end, I really learned a lot from this experience, and I had a ton of fun going there. One thing I really liked about going to Jubilee was it was directed exactly towards college students. So everything that the speakers talked about the whole time, I was able to apply directly to my life and what I'm going through at college right now. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what I learned. One thing that I did learn was that God opens and closes a lot of doors in your life, and you have to learn to trust God through all that, because He's always going to lead you in the right direction of what He has planned for you, and just that He's there leading you in the way that where He wants you to be called to. And I knew a lot throughout the weekend. A lot of the speakers were always talking about what your calling was. And before Jubilee, I really wasn't sure what that meant. I knew a lot of people were saying oh, they're called to into ministry and stuff, but I never heard people being called into teaching for me or business or stuff. But God calls people to do any major. He's always there calling people. He needs people in every major. He's always there in all the avenues, no matter what you decide to choose, if it's business or engineering, or for me it's teaching. But I just learned that I literally liked one of the speakers. He described your calling as the way you love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and just loving your neighbor as yourself in whatever field of study you are passionate about. So for me, that is teaching, because I love children and I love math, so that's why I'm going to be a math teacher. But I just know it's a good thing to remember that college is about discovering what you are passionate about and what your gifts are to find out what your calling is. So this is the time that we're all going through, taking different classes, learning exactly what we want to do, experimenting. So that's really hit me, because that's what we're all really experiencing right now in college. So I really like the idea that He is in every aspect of your life, no matter what major He is in, what major you choose to go into. So it's not just ministry that you're called to, you can be called to any major. Another big point that I learned at Jubilee was to step back and look at the bigger picture of life. Because I know a lot of the times we get held up on little details or little failures and things that we go through in our lives, but you just can't focus. Because I know for me, my education is very important to me, so if I even do bad on one test, I really let that bring me down, and my friends probably know I get really anxiety and stuff. But it's just encouraging to know that God is always there, even during your failures or your worst times. He's there to bring you up. So I just know that it's a good point, because one of the speakers talked about that we live our lives in fear because our society holds such a high pressure for succeeding. So we end up sacrificing our body, mind, and soul trying to succeed. And I know that personally I struggle with my schoolwork and trying to strive for A's in every class, even though I know that's not always possible in every class. But I know everyone else struggles with certain things in their lives. But I know that it's just always that God is only the one to judge us. We can't focus on what anybody else thinks besides us, or even we hold high standards for ourselves. Even if it's not other people judging us, we judge ourselves for how we succeed. So it's important just to focus on not trying to impress others or even ourselves, but we should just be focused on giving our life away to God. And I think to do this is by putting our desires in 1 second to whatever He has, and He wants us to be able to serve Him. And by serving Him, we could serve others. And I know that the way I want to do that is to be called to teach others and help them teach math. So that's really what I'm passionate about. But I know everyone else, that's different. But I really think that He is telling us that we can't really tie our identity to our failures and our successes, that really would bring us down. We really just